Is the Great British Pound the leader of the free world? Hello and welcome to today's Daily Blitz. Now, Nikolai, yesterday you pointed out a very interesting fact about the UK and its place within the global economy. And it's all about the Great British Pound and how it interacts with the UK economy in a way that none other of the major economies' currencies really do. Could you expand on that for us?
Yeah, so the argument I'm trying to make is that the British economy is the largest to have a currency or an exchange rate that reflects its own prospects rather than wider economic conditions. The idea is that the British economy has an advantage because of that. So the currency of any given country is supposed to reflect what's going on in its own economy, and the imports and exports rebalance sort of the stability of the economy at any given time. It's like a keel for a ship. It's constantly trying to rebalance things to keep them stable. Well, if you look at the other large economies around the world, the US has a global reserve currency, which means its US dollar is used in all sorts of different transactions around the world. So, for example, during the financial crisis, the US dollar rose, which made the financial crisis even worse for the US economy. Then you've got Japan, whose currency is a safe haven asset. It also rises during a crisis.
And it's also linked to the US economy in a way through the carry trade, right?
That's right. So a lot of people borrow in yen because it's so cheap, because the interest rates are so low, and then that money floods back to Japan during a crisis. Next up, you've got the Chinese, and they manipulate their currency by pegging it. And then you've got the euro with France and Germany, the other two large economies. Those countries' exchange rates reflect the eurozone's sort of balanced exchange rate as a whole, and therefore they don't really reflect the German and the French economy directly.
Right.
Which is where we get to the British economy. Now, the pound reflects what's going on in the British economy, almost only in the British economy, almost exclusively. Which means the UK economy gets the benefit of an exchange rate that is perfect for the UK economy. And that is a really big advantage, especially over the long term, because it keeps the UK economy on an even keel. It rebalances imports and exports, and that should lead to more economic growth over time, and especially more stability over time.
So to go over that again, so as the pound is not related to effectively what goes on in the rest of the world nearly so much as it is to what goes on in the UK, because nobody uses pounds outside of the UK to do business in the same way they do use the dollar, for example. And because of that, you actually get what sort of a fiat currency is supposed to do, which is reflect what is going on inside your own economy. So to go over again, so the US, the global reserve currency, loads of people use the dollar outside of the US. They use it to invoice things, use it to pay things. There are huge offshore balances of US dollars, and US interest rates as a result, and the value of the US dollar is not reflective of just what goes on in the US. So that's the global reserve currency first.
It's one of the reasons why the US runs a persistent trade deficit, because the US dollar basically finances it.
Right, yeah. I mean, they effectively have to spend all this money outside the US in order for this whole reserve system to work. So next up, after that, we've got the Eurozone effectively, so France, Germany. Obviously, when you're sharing that currency system, what goes on with euros in France is not necessarily the same as what goes on with euros in Germany. However, the value is still the same because of the interest rates and the like.
And that's why we've had Germany run its persistent trade surpluses, while Southern Europe struggles with trade deficits.
So effectively, the euro, there is no rebalancing mechanism. And that's one of the real flaws for the euro as well. And then, of course, Japan. And Japan is sort of one which I don't think many people really appreciate the same way as they would the dollar or the euro. But it's because carry trade, that term, it comes with some sort of technical know-how that people don't like to think of. But effectively, simply because it is used so much in order to create risk-free returns by financial speculators around the world, and also the fact that it also has a huge amount of savings in Japan, which are offshore, but are pulled back during times of crisis, which causes the yen to rise. It also is not reflective of Japanese financial conditions nearly so much as it is all of those other elements that are going on. And then, of course, you have China, which, of course, has just pegged its currency to the dollar, and so it is not, is not nearly so flexible in allowing market forces to interact with it. And of course, the Communist Party don't really want that to happen anyway. So then, at the end of it, we've got the UK, and it's something that I really hadn't put together before. Was the fact that how unhindered the pound is relative to all of the other major currencies. And so what do you think are the investment implications of that?
Well, the proof was in the pudding during the Brexit referendum, the aftermath of that. Everyone was expecting economic conditions to get quite bad inside Britain. Foreign investment would dry up, GDP would decline, unemployment would rise. What happened instead is that the pound basically sort of fixed all of those problems by falling dramatically. That attracted lots of foreign direct investment, a record amount in the quarter after the referendum. We also didn't have any unemployment struggles. Financial markets actually went up. So the pound basically sort of again, acted like a keel. It rerighted the ship by falling, and that rebalanced the UK economy and financial markets. So if the UK economy is expected to be more stable because of this unique position amongst large economies around the world, then you'd expect our financial markets to outperform as well.
Well, there you have it, folks. That is why the Great British Pound, in a way, is the leader of the free world, and how it allows a rebalancing of the economy in ways that the other major currencies simply do not allow. Well, that sums up today's Daily Blitz, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell down below, and we'll see you in the next one.